Hello and welcome to this special presentation between MGIC and Down Payment Resource. Today we're going to be talking about Facebook strategies for mortgage professionals, how you can use social media in general to strengthen your relationships, grow your referrals, and then also how you can use some of this great DPC content to do that as well. And we'll hit that later on in the presentation. But first, a little bit about myself. So I work with MGIC, and I manage and create all of the social media content. We have a number of channels, MGIC, and then Loan Officer Hub, which is our loan officer-centric channel, and Readiness, which is our consumer-centric channel. And so I've been doing that for about 3 years now, focused just on social media. I also manage our blogs and create content for those as well. So really anything digital marketing. I'm a bit of a jack of all trades with a focus on social media. So before we get going, we do have a wonderful legal disclaimer here. One thing I want to note in addition to this, because I believe the best way to learn is through example and illustration, you will see some screen captures from social media. Now, with that said, any faces, names, brands, or likeness that you see does not equal an endorsement either from MGIC or Down Payment Resource. Please check with your company's own social media policy before taking any action. And this Creative Cafe that we have a note about, which is a great way to have marketable content, co-branded and customizable. You do have to have that cleared by your company as well. So what are we talking about today? Well, of course, Facebook. But before we get into that, I do want to set the groundwork a little bit for social media in general and the way that people are using social media, right? Why do we want to use it in the first place? What does the audience look like? And then we'll talk more about Facebook specifically, that Facebook business page, how to set it up, how to optimize it, how to use it most effectively. And part of that is going to be talking about those, strengthening referral strategies, partnering with other people, engaging with that content. And then, of course, how to find and create content and post it. And I'll share some tips about how to have that content come to you as opposed to having to seek it out and search for it. That can be kind of a long and complicated process. And then we'll lastly talk about, of course, Down Payment Connect and how we can use that to provide value and generate some referrals via some social media strategies with that personalized landing page that you'll be getting. Social media. I always like to ask people when I give this presentation in person, what do you think of when you hear those words? And even if I'm not giving a presentation on Facebook, one of the most common things that people say, I'd say actually 90% of the time, is still Facebook. And the reason that is because Facebook does this social aspect very well, right? I mean, consider what we just call a connection on Facebook. On Twitter and LinkedIn, on Twitter and Instagram, you follow someone, right? On LinkedIn, you join someone's network, right? You're a connection. But on Facebook, we say we're friends, right? We're Facebook friends. We ask someone if we can be their friend on Facebook. So clearly the social aspect of that is really front-facing. And just consider the sort of content that you see when you go on Facebook, right? I mean, we're talking major life events, right? So, you see a lot of weddings, you see a lot of vacations, you see a lot of houses that people have moved into because that's a major event. We'll talk about how to take advantage of that later. But all these things said, it is a relationship and brand building tool and not a direct sales tool. And that is a very important lesson to learn. And I'll share an example that I experienced that kind of is a bit of what not to do. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. But I do want to share a few stats here, right? So 91% of people believe in social's power to connect to people. This is just from a study done last year by Sprout Social, which is a social tool that I use. And consumers also rank social media as the #1 way to connect with brands, right? More than TV and radio, email, and direct mail. What this is saying is just that people use social people go on social media to witness and be a part of that connection, right? Although we may live in a cynical world at times, social media can be used very much as a positive tool, and that's what people like to use it for, right? So again, we're trying to build relationships, build our brand, and not use it directly as a sales tool. That's just one key element of it, but not the central one. And so kind of going into this tale that I said I was going to share with you all, you've probably heard this before, right? People don't buy from brands. They buy from people they know and trust. And you can certainly use social media to build that trust, right? That's a big part of it. People are going to be doing their research. You want to make sure that you are representing yourself well so that you can be seen on there and people can learn to trust you. However, just as trust can be quickly built up on social media, it can just as easily be broken, right? I know when I was a kid, my parents always told me that trust was like toothpaste, right? Once it goes out of the tube, it's hard to get back in there. And I think that that's actually a pretty good analogy for what happens on social media. We've probably all witnessed something where we see something and all of a sudden you lose credibility, or you don't feel that person's credible anymore, or maybe you don't like what they said. And so in this particular instance, I want to share a story where I was friends with a person in college, and as one does, we both graduated. We, went our separate ways, moved to separate cities. But social media and Facebook in particular was a great way that we were able to stay in touch. However, slowly but surely, this person's posts started going away from the stuff I like to see on Facebook, right, which are, fun posts about, what's going on in their life, parties they have attended, articles that they think are interesting that they've shared, and started posting about just this one particular thing. Not just a thing, but a product. And in this case, the product happened to be yoga pants. And so every time I go on Facebook, top of my news feed, almost every single day is this person trying to sell yoga pants. Now, I know most people listening in right now probably do not know me, and although I am a fan of yoga, I am not in the market for yoga pants, right? So what happens when we get advertised something by a friend, right, by a regular Facebook friend connection, and that's what we see every time we log in, right? The thing that we do is you're probably, like me, going to either block that person or unfriend them or unfollow them, because that's not why we go on Facebook. We don't want to see that. We don't want to be sold to directly. So the reason I share this story is because although you may get excited about using social media as a sales tool, using this special landing page via Down Payment Connect to share with people, you never want that to be the only thing that you're doing. You never want that to be the focus. We'll talk about the ratios of content to post later on, but just kind of keep that perspective in mind that really, at the end of the day, Facebook and social media is a relationship and brand building tool, a research tool that people are going to use, and it's not going to be that direct sales tool. So just a few stats that I have on the screen here, that speak more to a question that I used to get a lot, which is, do I really need to be on social media? And that has kind of gone away, right? Many of us are starting to just accept that social media is in a lot of ways just the next evolution of the way we're communicating, right? I mean, I think back to when I had a flip phone rather, and a text message, you had to, ask someone, hey, by the way, do you have texting? Can I text you? And of course, that would be a silly question today, right? Same thing with emailing, even phone calling in general way back in the day. And so it really is just that next step where we've now assumed, right, that people have social media, that you can contact them on there. There are a lot of benefits to be on social media outside of just meeting an expectation, and I'll get to those throughout the presentation that we see here on the bottom of the screen. One thing I do want to note is talking about that audience on social media, right? So we know most people are on social media, and not only are they on social media, but they're using it regularly from dusk till dawn, right? So or dawn till dusk rather. And we can see this in this stat that I found where 48% of 18 to 34-year-olds check Facebook right when they wake up, and over a quarter of those people check Facebook on their smartphones before they even get out of bed, right? Now, I will admit, as I'm sure probably many of you listening can as well, that I've been one of these stats, right? I represent this. My alarm is on my phone, and so I'm going to go ahead and hit that off, and then I've already got my phone in my hand. Facebook real quick. So it's just become, something that people use, right when they wake up and right before they go to bed. Now, I also have a stat here that shows, that despite this younger audience maybe being on social media more often, the 35 plus demographic still represents over a third of the entire user base. So you are really, getting a large slice of different demographics when you start to use social media. Lastly, these other stats just kind of tell a whole story here about people's interactions with their phones and how they're using them. And, we can really just see that people are always using their phones, right? On average, back in 2016, a study was done that showed that people touch their phones 2,617 times a day. And of all the uses that people use their phones, calling comes in sixth. And almost half of those people who were surveyed said that they could live without, actually needing to use their phone to call people. So this is just all to paint a picture about how we use social media, how we use our phones, and then ask yourself, right, are you adjusting your communication and marketing strategies to meet this shift, right? We know people are online. We know people are on social media. We know people are researching with their phones. So how are we making sure that we're connecting with this audience? And hopefully I'll be able to help answer those questions for you throughout this presentation. Now, I do want to make a quick note about millennials. I think this is actually true of most home buyers these days, but we do know that millennials make up the majority of first-time home buyers, and that 91% of these millennials start the home buying process online. And actually just saw a stat from Housing Wire from the latest NAR report that said 75% of home buyers found their home on their phone, right? So people are doing their research online. If people can do their research on their own, they will. And of course, because we have our phones that are connected to the internet, we can do that. So just be aware that people are going to be doing their research, and you're going to want to make sure that you have that Facebook business presence, because people are going to be looking for you, and you want to make sure that you have that presence so that people can feel validated when they find you. They can feel like they can trust you. It reduces their doubt because they found you online. They were able to research you. And people want to have that extra layer of trust in doing their own research. Now, they do want their research validated, right? So this kind of goes into this DPC page that you'll be able to have, where when people are, using your portal and finding out what programs they're eligible for, they're going to want to talk to you, and you can follow through and really help them validate this information, help them figure out what the best program for them is, not just for down payment assistance, but for the home buying process as a whole. Now on the screen here, I've got most of these grayed out, but Facebook is highlighted. And what this just shows, we can note that by far Facebook has the most amount of users. And so I just like to show this infographic to show that although there are a lot of other platforms out there, Facebook is still the most popular one by far. So what is a Facebook business page, right? That's what we're going to talk about, for the majority of this presentation. Why should we use it? What's important about it? And really what it is a professional page separate from your personal Facebook page that I like to imagine as a kind of modern online yellow pages, right? You go on Facebook or even maybe just Google and you look someone up, and when you find their Facebook business page, you can see all the information about them as a business person, right? So, what are they selling? Where are they located? What are their hours? How do we contact you? And then, of course, you can share posts, and that can show off a little bit of your personality, a little bit of your brand as well. The last thing on here is that it allows you to be recommended and reviewed, right? And this is a really important thing to do because people like to do their research, and having this ability to be researched and to be reviewed is really going to help you set yourself apart from your peers that maybe don't have this, right? If you consider you're researching a product online, right, whether it's, a TV or maybe it's, anything, right? Anything that I know I buy, I do my research on. Maybe it's a mechanic that I'm looking to work with. It can even be a service. If I'm doing that research and I find someone who has a 5-star rating with 10 reviews and someone who maybe has no reviews or 2 reviews and one of them isn't great, who am I going to go with, right? Chances are I'm going to go with the one that has better reviews because we've learned to trust these reviews and these ratings, and it's become an integrated part in the way that we do research. So having this ability is hugely important, and I'll talk more later about how you can take advantage of that specifically. So quick little tip here. You or someone on your team does have to have a personal profile to create a business page. Having this page is kind of like a launching point for that business profile. That said, once you create the page, you can actually give access to multiple Facebook profiles. So if you have a marketing team or an assistant, either they can create the page or you can create the page, and then multiple people can work on it. So multiple people can respond to messages or post articles or do maintenance. So just wanted to give a quick tip about that. So let's talk about how to set up your page and also how to make the most of that page by optimizing it so that when someone comes across it, we're really providing that best first or second impression. So you don't need all this information up front if you're someone who likes to have it. Feel free. This is kind of what you need, right? A name, a little bit of about blurb, photos for both your profile and your cover photo, and then what's called a call to action. So let's go through these all individually. But I wanted to provide a quick preview and show you what this looks like, what the profile page looks like. So, what we can see here is that at the top left, we've got our logo. For you, of course, that would be your profile photo, a photo of a headshot. And then we've got the, header image, right? We've got the one moment. So we've got our cover photo at the top of the page, which I'll mention ways to optimize that in just a minute. And then below that, we've got what's called the call to action. And this is the blue button that for us right now says sign up. But really, it's what you want people to do on your page. Every Facebook page has this. And then you can see the send message button to the right that's going to default to be on for everyone as well. Below that, you can see those reviews, which is, front and center and paints a great picture if you got those 5 stars. And then below that, your community section, which shows, who likes your page. You can invite people to like your page, which I'll share later. And then your about, really. So this is kind of all of the prime information about you that you find in something like the Yellow Pages, right? Where are you located? How often you respond to messages, which is included there as well. How to contact you, what sort of company or business are you. And so all that is kind of front and center on the right side of that column. And then in the middle of the page, of course, you've got your posts that you can share as well, and people can see what sorts of content you've been posting about and sharing. So what I want to do now is kind of walk you through that process. So you can see this is my personal Facebook page. My name and the headshot are on the top left there. And you can click that arrow button on the top right and hit the create page button. And then because you are a business or brand, you're going to hit that button to get started. Now, first up, we've got the headshot, right, your profile picture. And although many people who have Facebook probably already have a fun photo for their profile, I would say if you have a professional headshot, that's the photo that you're going to want to use for your profile photo. And that is simply because when you imagine that someone who's doing their research, a borrower that is looking for the best possible person to work with, that first impression is really important. And I personally believe that it's better to show off that professionalism, that people can trust, as opposed to something that maybe is more fun that may show up your personality. That can come later in the process, potentially in the post that you share and the way that you engage with people. But you really want that first impression to be very professional and positive. So if you have a LinkedIn photo, I'd say it's a great opportunity to just share that, use the same exact one. People, when they're doing their research, are going to see that consistency if they happen to stumble across both your LinkedIn and your Facebook pages, which can be very helpful, to have that consistency. And just, make sure that you're giving someone that positive first impression. Next, we've got the cover photo. Simply, if you have a cover photo, you're going to get more views. This is just Facebook wanting to promote pages that are more complete and that are more visually appealing. And so there are a variety of different ways that you can promote this cover photo, the way that you can use it. And I will go over some examples in the next slide. But if you do have a marketing team that you're working with, feel free to collaborate with them. They probably maybe even have some photos that you can already use. And so, before doing a lot of work on your own, definitely reach out and see if they can help you out. So what we have here are some examples of different, brands and individuals that have shared some of these photos. And on the top left, one of my favorites is simply just a photo of the skyline, right? So something that was within your community. Because when you think about people that are going to be looking at your page, they're going to be people in your community, and having that direct connection where they see right away, oh, this is someone that's local, this is someone that loves this community, that's going to be someone that they're going to want to work with. Below that, we've got down payment resource, and we can see that they have that branded image, right? And so, there it says, we turn home searchers into homeowners. And if you are part of a company that likes to have a cohesiveness with the sales team, with, various individuals on the team, you can see if they've got something like that for you to use as well. Top right, we've got someone who is really, differentiating themselves with their personal brand. Obviously it's very clear how he's kind of promoting himself as opposed to other loan officers. So if you have a unique angle that you can take, you can also use your cover image to do that. Below that, we've got an event that is being promoted, right? And so you can change your cover photo as often as you want. If you want to have maybe a default of the skyline, but if there's an event you're attending or a cause that you're supporting that you want to highlight, that's a great option because, again, people that you're going to be working with are going to be local to your community. They're going to want to have that connection with you, and this is another way to show that you care about that community, that you're involved. And that can create a great, positive, relationship right away. So next we've got the call to action. The call to action is, again, going to be what you want people to do on your page. And this is, a term we use a lot in marketing where simply it means, what are you calling people to do? What action are you calling them to take? And so here, is kind of a screen cap of what it looks like when you create your page. It's giving you some options of what you want to do next. But if you hit the little blue pencil, you can hit the edit button and change it to whatever you'd like. Now I would say, what do you want someone to have this be? And you can, choose from a lot of different options, and there are even sub-options within that, right? So if you choose it to be contact you, there are 6 different ways that you can get someone to contact you. And you might be wondering, well, what's the best option for me? And I personally think this is where you want to lean into a technology that a lot of people are using, and that's Facebook Messenger. And the reason I say to use Facebook Messenger instead of email or calling is because it's the path of least resistance. I like to do a thought experiment and think, a borrower is doing their research, they're at home, they're on their couch, maybe it's, a commercial break during a football game or something like that, and they stumble across your page and they want to contact you to find out more. And when they hit that contact button, it says to call you. Well, they don't want to call. Millennials especially really don't like talking on the phone. They don't know how long the conversation is going to go, and so they're just not going to do it. The other option is to email. And email is also going to be just a little more work, right? It's a little more formal. I don't want to write a formal email. I don't want them to have my email address, so I'm not going to do that. And that's where Messenger comes in, right? Because people are comfortable with Messenger, people are familiar with it, and it's the most casual. It's the path of least resistance. So a little bit about Facebook Messenger. I thought this was very interesting. It's actually the second most downloaded app of all time, behind only Facebook itself, right? So what this is showing is that we know people are comfortable with it. We know that people are using it. Now, it does offer that last path of least resistance, right? You hit the button and you just type a message. And actually, you can customize this in your Messenger settings where you can actually have your Messenger pop up as soon as someone goes to your page. So you can have a predefined greeting that might say, hey, thanks for checking out my page. If you have any questions, let me know. Or if you're interested in down payment assistance, I'm happy to tell you what programs you're eligible for, or whatever it may be. Maybe something very casual like, hey, if you're interested in the home buying process, no, it can be complicated. I'm happy to help you in whatever way that I can. And you can actually even have some of these predefined options that people can select as well, right? So now they don't even have to type in a response. All they have to do is hit a button. So these options here, can I speak to an agent? What areas do you serve? Can I schedule a viewing? These are all things that are prompting someone to take action where they don't have to type out a message. All they have to do is hit the button. So this is really what's great about Messenger. People are so used to texting now. It's become one of the main ways that we communicate with both, our friends and family, but even our business connections as well. And really just make sure that you're available where customers are, right? Where people are used to, communicating with people. So now I want to talk about reviews and recommendations and how powerful this is. Now, I've already kind of harped on this, how often people are doing research, so I don't need to talk much more about it. But simply, positive reviews and recommendations are going to reduce doubt and drive someone to work with you over someone that doesn't have that. Now, the thing about this is that you can turn it on or off. So, in the off chance that you happen to get a slew of negative reviews, you can turn them off. You can't, delete individual reviews because that would not be ethical, but you can turn off the feature if that's something you're concerned about. You can also, have it highlighted at the top of your page. You saw in our example that is right at the top, and that's a really positive first impression. But really, it's just going to increase your reach as more people review you. It's going to help people feel validated when they're working with you, and it's going to build relationships when you start asking people to review you, because when you help someone with the biggest purchase of their life, they're going to want to return the favor. And if you just ask for a very simple, favor like recommending you on Facebook, they'll be happy to do that because you've helped them out in such a big way as well. So here's the screen of what this looks like. Now, it used to be a 5-star system. Now it's just a 5 out of 5 system. And instead of getting star ratings and saying, hey, I think this is a 3 out of 5 person, instead it's just going to ask you, hey, do you recommend this person or not? And just like Netflix, it's going to take the aggregate of those yeses and nos and give you a rating. So it's nice that we can see, that it's just asking you to recommend someone if they view your page. So that prompts people to do that. And then we can see what this looks like, right? So this is very powerful. You can see, who they are. You can see they're real. And again, consider the people looking at this page. It'll be people in your community. So there's a high chance that they're actually going to see someone that they know, right? That someone within their community who you worked with. Excuse me. So kind of continuing on here, another benefit is just how powerful these testimonials are, right? Sam was awesome. She got a house we love at a great price. She even worked with their crazy schedules. I highly recommend her if anyone's looking to buy a house, right? Sam was amazing. She's detailed, organized, thorough, and sincere as a realtor. Truly goes above and beyond, right? These are very positive responses. And again, consider the purchase, right? Someone's not buying, some product at Target or something small, right? They're buying a house, and so they're going to be enthused. They're going to be excited. They're going to give you these very positive and ecstatic responses like this. So all you got to do is ask. Now, one question I get often is, how do I get people to like my page? And one thing you can do to really kickstart that effort is by just asking your friends, right? And this is one of the benefits of having a separate page from your personal profile. You know, you're not going to be spamming them with your personal profile. You've got this separate page. And what you can do is invite those people to like this page. And what I think is a great option is, instead of just inviting everyone, put people into buckets, right? First, consider, hey, who have I worked with before? Who have I had a good experience with? Or maybe who are some referral partners that I've worked with? You can select those people and write a personalized message to them, right? Saying, hey, you know, I hope the new home is treating you well. I am launching this page, and I'm going to be sharing lots of fun, interesting facts about, you know, the home buying process and home ownership as a whole. And I thought you would appreciate it and love it if you like the page, right? That's one group. You can have a separate group of people where you are going to be, you know, reaching out to people who you know are potentially renters or people who might be buying in the next 5 years, and just say that. Say, hey, I'm reaching out because I thought you may be interested in buying a home in the next 5 years. I know it can be a complicated process, but I'm happy to help out. I'll be sharing some articles and interesting content about that process. And if you think that's interesting to you, please like my page, and I'll be happy to help with any questions you have. That's another thing. Lastly, you can reach out to everyone else, right? So people who you just don't know if they're interested in a home, or people who maybe you don't even remember who they are, if they're an old Facebook friend, and just say, hey, I'm creating this separate page. You know, I'm just reaching out because I thought you may be interested in learning more about, you know, home ownership. And in case you know anyone that may be interested in buying a home, by liking this page, you know, I'll be sharing lots of interesting, fun content that you can share with them as well. You know, and just be upfront and say, I appreciate it if you like the page. If not, no worries, right? I find that's always an approach that does well. Now, the other thing you can do to get people to like your page is instead of just inviting everyone, or really in addition to that, is when you have content that people have liked. So you can see here's a post we've created, 26 people liked it. You can click on that button and it'll pop up and show you all the people who liked your page, or liked the post rather. And then if people have liked your post and they haven't yet liked your page, you can actually individually hit the button for each of those people and invite them to like your page. And I've actually seen this is a great way. It's a simple step. It just takes a few seconds. But if you do this on every single one of your posts, people are more likely to actually respond yes than one of those earlier messages, because they've already liked your post. They've already liked what you're doing. And so this is, you know, kind of just asking someone, hey, you like this? You'll probably see more of it. You'll want to see more of it. Go ahead and like the page to do that. And this has seen a very high conversion rate for me. And so just a little tip here that you want to take that I think is going to be very helpful for you as well. And one more note about recommendations. So outside of those recommendations, there's also a feature that Facebook has where if someone is asking for a recommendation via a Facebook post, it's going to reformat your post to kind of highlight that someone's looking for recommendations. So here's one example I found, right? Someone said, hey, can someone recommend a loan officer who can do a VA loan for 45 to 50K? And you can see someone popped in and said, hey, try this person. And then because that person was tagged, they were able to see they were recommended and actually follow up with this person directly. So this is where having that presence on Facebook is actually going to let you view these word of mouth recommendations in real time and allow you to follow up on them. Whereas, you know, outside of the digital world, you don't know if someone recommended you. You don't know what that process looks like. You don't know who they were. And this is just allowing you to take advantage of that in a real way. Okay, so we've talked a lot about creating your page and some of the features of your page. What I want to focus on now is content, how to find good content, how to share good content, you know, and what sorts of strategies can we take with our content marketing plan. So what's interesting, right? That's really a question you want to ask yourself when you're sharing content. What is going to be interesting to people, and what is going to compel someone to act, compel someone to engage with my post? And I've personally found that photos are a great way to kind of get in the door, so to speak, of people's attention, right? We have this thing called scroll fatigue. We probably all experienced it, where you're scrolling on Facebook or Twitter or whatever it may be, and you're just scrolling and you're not even reading anything. Photos can be a way to break up that monotony and grab people's attention. Now, what you want to do is not only share a photo, but actually combine it with a few other techniques. So one of these techniques is to use a hashtag that is popular. So in this example, we can see that's the largest one on the screen. We have a hashtag that says hashtag Flashback Friday. So those are always popular on Friday. It's just, sharing anything. It could be a week ago, it could be a year ago, it could be 10 years ago, but that's a popular hashtag that people use. And so it also happened to be Hispanic Heritage Month. And so we shared some photos from an event we had. We used some more hashtags. We tagged the groups that we were with so that they're going to see this content and they're going to want to share it. And then we also included a link to a resource that we created about how people can connect with and market to potential Hispanic home buyers, right? And so here is a great option to, instead of just sharing a link, say, hey, check this out, find a way to share photo content that's going to grab people's attention as well. You can see another example on the top right where it happened to be International Dog Day. So we used that as a hashtag. We had a bunch of cute dog photos that people on the internet love, and we found these photos from contests that we ran in the past from customers. And so we shared a slideshow, and then again we included a link that's going to drive traffic to our page that is sharing a link to an infographic about dogs and homeowners. Again, another way to kind of combine that fun visual content with some more practical, information that people can gain. And then, of course, on the bottom right, we've just got a tool. People love mortgage calculators. They Google it all the time. And so here we're just sharing a calculator. You might catch someone who finds it and says, you know what, I've actually been curious about if renting is best for me. I'm going to put in my own numbers. I'm going to do my own research. So think about what tools you can share that are actually interesting, right, that are actually going to provide value to people. In addition to that, you can share infographics. If you're out at events, those are also great photos. Again, this is where you can show off your brand, and this is where you're going to be able to build that brand presence. So, don't be afraid to share some things that maybe aren't directly related to housing, but show off just a part of who you are. And then, your personal down payment connects page, right? So I'll talk more about this in a minute, but that's a way that you can share a tool where people are doing their research. You can provide value, and of course, it's going to provide you that referral opportunity as well. So I do have a quick tip here that I like to share, and this is simply just best times to share on Facebook. So really on the weekends are the best, including Thursday. And actually time-wise, we've got some here at 9 a.m., 1 p.m., and 3 p.m. We just know that's when people are most active on Facebook. That doesn't mean you shouldn't share times outside of this, but if you've got good content, you may as well promote it when it's most likely to be noticed. And one thing that you can do, I know if you're like me, I don't necessarily want to have to work on the weekends. And so what you can do is actually schedule posts on your Facebook business page. And so maybe it's Monday, you schedule all your posts for the week, including the weekend, so that way you don't have to worry about logging in on a Sunday morning to share a Facebook post when a lot of people are active. So where can we find content? I do want to point out a few resources that are great. Of course, we've got Readiness, which is our consumer-facing website, and Connects, which is our industry blog. Down Payment Resource has a great blog as well, talking about all aspects of the home buying process, specifically, down payment, assistance and hurdles that people have to jump over that they can help people with. And then there's also some more fun ones like Apartment Therapy, which, I've been able to find a lot of great content that people find interesting. But I do want to note that it can be hard to follow a bunch of websites and see what's good and see what's new. And so the best way to do it is actually to have that resource come to you, to have those blogs, come to you so you're not having to seek it out. And one way to do that is with a news aggregator, and one of them is Flipboard, which we can see on the screen here. And the way Flipboard works is that you can create an account, and you can use the app or the website, and what you can do then is choose which which sorts of content you want to see. So, if you're in this industry, you probably want to know about the real estate industry. You want to know about housing. Maybe you want to know about DIY home projects for more fun things you can share. And then every time you log in, you're going to see new content that is relevant to your audience's interests instead of having to seek that out. So that's a great option. And you can think about how you integrate this into your operating rhythm. Maybe it's once a week you log into your account, you look at the top articles, you read the whole article when you share it, because you don't want to read just a headline and share it. I've seen people do that and then not realize the full breadth of what's in the article. So make sure to actually take the 5 minutes to read the article before you share it. And then the other option is something called Google Alerts. And Google Alerts is a great tool because it allows you to essentially create a Google search and then have Google make this search in the background constantly, and then send you an email, once a day, multiple times a day, once a week, with the best content related to that search. And this is, again, a great way to integrate, sourcing content into your operating rhythm so that it comes to you, right? So that maybe it's every, Wednesday afternoon, you check your latest Google Alert email, you look at some of the top articles, and you choose one to send out to share with your social media audience. And again, this is really helping minimize the amount of time and effort that you take in sourcing content, because if someone has to do it every day, I can tell you that it can take a lot of time when you don't have it coming directly to you first. And this is just going to cut down the amount of time that you have to spend doing this. And maybe, we haven't really talked about LinkedIn, but your audience is going to be different. So maybe you have an alert set for Facebook, which is more consumer focused. Maybe you have another alert set for LinkedIn, which is more industry news focused. You can make as many alerts as you want, and you actually don't even need to use a Gmail account. You can use any mail account to do that. What we have here is the content golden rule, right? So when sourcing content, that's great, you're finding stuff, but how much content do you want to share that is, from outside resources versus content that is going to be created by yourself? And actually, the majority of that content you do want to be sourced, what we call curated content, right? So that's going to be the stuff you find on Flipboard, stuff you find on Google Alerts, on some of your favorite websites. And then 30% of your content can be your company's own material, right? And 10% is going to be promotional. So, you think about that down payment resource, down payment connect page, that's going to be either that 10%, right, where you're sharing, something that in a way in this industry is kind of promotional for you. And then if you've got an industry blog, you can share some of that for 30%. But most of the stuff is going to be that curated content. So don't make the mistake of my friend who posted about yoga pants all the time. That was all 10%, and they moved it to pretty much 90% because then I stopped following them. So you want to give people a reason to follow you. No one's going to want to follow your page if literally all you're doing is just promoting yourself and your business. So make sure that you're doing a little bit of that. People expect it, but that it doesn't become the majority of your content. So you want to engage, right? And part of engaging is just sharing good content, but there are a few other options, which I'll talk about now. One of these options is something fun and easy to do, and that's create a poll. And the way that you can do that is when you're making a status or a post, you can see below there are some options. If you hit that button, you'll get an option to make a poll. And on here, feel free to steal this example if you want. I think it's fun to do stuff that's housing adjacent or related, but not necessarily, about the mortgage industry in general. So here we've got an example, what type of flooring do you prefer? You can actually include images or GIFs for each of these options. And that way, it's going to be a little more engaging and fun. But again, people love seeing what other people think about things. This is a fun, low, difficulty question to answer. Do you like hardwood or carpet better? Again, something simple, easy, and engaging for people to do. And it is going to help break up other content that you have that might be a little more informative or intense. This is just simple and fun and a way to kind of pepper it in with your other content. Here's some more examples of just fun things to share. On the left, Good Neighbor Day was a thing that happened in September. It happens every September. And here we just use that hashtag. We didn't include a link to anything. We simply just included a fun photo. And if you are eagle-eyed, you'll notice that this is actually the example that I showed earlier where when we got 26 people to like it, and so we were able to click that and ask the people who liked this post to actually like our page. So that's why we want to post some fun, engaging content, because sometimes that's going to be the easiest stuff to get people to engage with, and then you can ask them to like your page. Of course, infographics are very popular on social media. We have one of our most popular pages on our blog is actually our infographics, page that includes a bunch of them. And this one always does well. 13 things to know about first-time home buyers. You can tease it with a stat in the copy. So in this case, 44% of first-time home buyers are putting 5% or less on their home. Discover 12 others. You're teasing people with the copy. You have an image that is engaging, and people love infographics in general. So just an example that I like to share. And then, of course, you're going to want to promote your down payment Connect page and really promote down payment assistance as a whole. And this is because people are very misinformed, right? 60% of renters say down payments are a barrier, but at the same time, 44% of Americans think you need a down payment of at least 20%, right? So, there's a bit of a gap here of what people think they need and what they really need. And then, only 23% of consumers, less than a quarter, are actually familiar with loan down payment programs. At the same time, 36% of 2017 loans in the largest 31 U.S. markets would have been eligible for down payment assistance, right, with an average savings of almost $10,000. So this is content that you want to share with people because it's going to help inform them. You might even make some people realize that they can own a home where they didn't realize it was possible before. And we can see in the example to the right here that someone is posting a specific listing and then actually using that as an opportunity to say, hey, Minnesota first-time homebuyers can receive up to $12,000 loan payment, down payment for closing cost assistance. So this is where you're highlighting both listing and then also down payment assistance. So that's a good example I wanted to share that you might be able to take advantage of as well. And then you want to share that down payment Connect page, because this is going to give people the option to do that research on their own, right? Here, this person said, hey, many first-time home buyers qualify for down payment money. See if you qualify. And this is where they click on that link. They'll go to that personal page where it's asking them, hey, check your eligibility. And as soon as they do that, they're going to see, hey, you may be eligible, in this case, for up to 19 programs and up to almost $15,000 in down payment help. And now it's going to prompt them to enter their information so that you can reach out to them and help them with that. So again, this is one, they're using their own research to learn more, and then you as the professional can follow up, someone that they can trust that is focused on this industry to help them through that whole process. So this is really a great thing that you want to take advantage of, and it's going to help generate leads and provide information that borrowers need. Now, there are some free resources that you can use on downpaymentresource.com. You can see the link on the screen here, and that's going to include some social media graphics. There's even some cover photos that you can use. So if you really want to promote the fact that, down payment assistance money might be available for people, you can use that as a cover photo, use it as a branding opportunity for you to keep that message out there. But there are success stories, there are tutorials, a whole bunch of good stuff that you want to take a look at on their page as well. Now let's talk about partnerships and engaging with some of these people to increase your following and build some of these relationships, right? So, oftentimes one of the easiest things to do and also one of the most effective things is to post a photo of the closing, right? And, in the beginning of the presentation when I spoke about, hey, what are people posting? What are you looking for when you go on Facebook? People are really looking for those major life events, right? They want to know what's going on with their friends and family, people that haven't seen in a long time. What are those major landmarks that are happening for them? And buying a home is, of course, one of those major landmarks. And so if you can give them content, right, with that photo, you can do one of two things. You can either post it yourself and then ask them if you, if you are okay with posting it and tagging them, I think the better option is actually to ask them to post it and tag you. And the reason that is because consider the audience, right? You're sharing it to people that you're connected with on your professional page, and that's great. But if you can get a borrower to share it, all of their friends are going to see that, and that's going to be a large amount of people that could potentially be first-time home buyers, right? If you've got a millennial that maybe just bought a home, they're probably friends with many other millennials who might be interested in the home buying process and buying their own home. And now you're kind of being seen by people who didn't know who you were, didn't know what you did, and now they're connecting you to one of their friends who just had a great experience buying their first home. Another thing that you can do is not just post a photo of a closing, but think about other, and we'll talk about the real estate agent and loan officer connection in just a slide, but also consider what other local businesses can you partner with. Again, the aspect where, the community and partnering with people in your community and showing your, engaging with and supporting your community can be very important. And so think about what businesses, right? In this case, we have a chocolatier. And this person partnered with a chocolatier for a closing gift, and then was able to post a photo of the closing with the chocolates, and then tag that business. Now that business, because you're supporting them, are going to want to share this post as well. So again, this is similar to that other example where you're getting people who don't know who you are to see you, to discover you, and you're being shared by. You're being seen by a business, people who are connected with this other business that like this other business that are essentially promoting you. And so now you're being seen by a much larger audience, and a lot of other, loan officers or real estate agents probably aren't connecting with these local businesses. And so you're going to become that one main referral source when it comes to, home ownership and the home buying process. So that's one way to kind of think outside the box. It doesn't have to be a chocolatier. It could be a florist, or maybe it's, an artist or whatever it may be. But think about how you can do that to become that local, person that is partnering within the community. Now, here we got into that example where someone is posting a photo of their new home. People love cats, so this person also posted a photo of their cat looking outside their front porch. And here you can see this person said, hey, shout out to my amazing realtor and our mortgage broker, right? And look at how many people have commented, congratulated, liked the post, right? This is one of the most popular posts that people are going to have where they're sharing such a big life event. So if you can get them by simply asking and saying, hey, you probably want to post about this on Facebook. If you're active on social media, I'd love it. I really appreciate it if you give me a shout out and just be upfront and honest and say, I'm trying to build out my presence. And they're going to be happy to do that for you because you've helped them with that large purchase, that biggest purchase of their life. So some other partnership options. Of course, real estate and loan officers are very much, working within the same audience, and so they can support each other, kind of have a bit of a symbiotic relationship. And so here we have an example where a loan officer shared a real estate agent's post and says, hey, check out this home. I'm in love with the kitchen. Call me for your pre-approval, and then call Mary to take a look. And then we've actually got Mary showing up in the comments saying, hey, thanks for sharing, showing it tomorrow to one of your pre-approved buyers. So this is, of course, a best case scenario, but it shows that it does work, right? When you share things on social media, you're just hoping to increase the number of people that notice you. And when you partner with a real estate agent or, a loan officer, depending on what you do, you are potentially doubling or tripling the amount of people that are going to see your own content, and they're going to do the same thing, right? It's very much an I scratch your back, you scratch mine. If you start sharing their posts, they're going to start sharing your posts, and you're also providing value to a referral partner where maybe, if you're new or if you're trying to give someone a reason to partner with you, one thing you can say is, hey, I'm active on social media. I like to support my partners. I'll get more eyes on you. And that in and of itself can be a good value add to that relationship. Now, these are just more examples. Here, we've got someone, again, sharing a listing and a loan officer sharing one of their real estate partners' listings. And you can see, 62 people commented on it, 12 plus people, 62 people liked it, over 12 people commented on it. Again, it's local. People, have strong feelings about, neighborhoods, their community. They're going to want to engage with this content. But also feel free to share, if you're with a partner at an event. I showed you earlier examples where if you're just out and about in the town, feel free to share those things, tag other industry professionals that you're with, get them to share that content as well. And of course, share information about those down payment assistance programs, your personal page. Those are great opportunities for you to get seen and gain some positive relationships with people. So the last thing I want to talk about in this presentation is paid social, right? What is paid social? How is it different than advertising? Is it really any different than traditional advertising? And so first, the question you got to ask is, should I integrate paid social? And the answer to that is, of course, going to depend. But what it does is it allows you to be seen guaranteed, right? So just like if you pull out an ad on the TV, right, you're guaranteeing that people are going to see you and discover you. Same thing with social media, right? If you do all these things I've said, people are going to see you and discover you, but it might require a little bit more effort, a little bit more constant work. You put an ad out there and you spend some money on it, you just know it's going to happen. So this is going to increase people being aware of you. It's going to help you gain more leads. It's going to make you, potentially make some data-driven decisions as you see which ads work and don't work, see what resonates with different audiences, and you can kind of take that data and implement it in your future campaigns and your future posts. So one thing to note, Facebook probably isn't surprising the reason that Facebook is so successful. It has more interest-based data than everyone in the world. Now, as housing professionals, we don't necessarily get to take advantage of this. I'll show you in an example that you actually have to hit a button so that you declare yourself as a housing professional so that you're compliant with rules and regulations. But you can still target to a certain extent. And one reason you want to get on Facebook is that, I think they're not as popular anymore, but you can avoid ad blockers. It's easy to engage with people. People are on Facebook. We saw over 2 billion people, so we know that we're reaching people. And you can target, locally, right? So if you're, within a certain city, you want to focus on those people. Facebook allows you to do that. So one question that I get, and one thing you'll see a lot, if you've been on Facebook, if you've been posting on business pages, Facebook's always going to ask you to boost a post, right? It's going to find a reason to tell you, hey, you should boost this post, because at the end of the day, Facebook wants you to spend money, right? And that's fair. And sometimes it might be a good idea to boost a post. But at the end of the day, boosting a post really is just another way to advertise. And sometimes, although it is an easier way to advertise, does not mean it's more effective. And I want to show an example to kind of go through this, right? So here we have a post. We just posted this. It's just a photo. It's not anything that's asking people to click on a link. It's not even really saying what we do, right? Saying, hey, we found this cute little snowman in front of MGSD HQ. And Facebook's like, hey, this post is getting a lot of engagement, 90% more than other posts on your page. If you boost it for $10, 1,900 people are going to see it. So should I boost it? It's popular. I probably should, right? Well, probably not. And that's because when you boost a post, you are going to be seen by most people for the first time. And consider the message that you're sending. And in this case, if someone doesn't know who MGIC is and they see this post, they might like it because it's cute. But is that going to gain me any business, right? They might think that we're just a photography company, right? They have no idea who we are. So when you're boosting a post, first consider, okay, what does this first impression mean? Am I going to potentially generate business from this post, or am I making a good first impression that is relevant? So make sure you're asking those questions before you just, throw some money at it and get people to look at your post. So here's an example that we had where we had a blog on Readiness that targeted that was all about, home buying tips for dog owners. And so, in this case, we know that more and more dog owners are actually using their pet ownership to make a decision to buy a home. It was in the media a whole bunch recently. And so, we decided, hey, let's target dog owners or people who like dogs, and let's make an ad out of it. And we spent $200 and got 800 people to click this link. Now, you can decide whether or not you think that is a valuable spend of money, but this is where you can use that interest-based data to target, more specifically with the content that you have. And this is where you're using both the type of content and your audience to tailor it and match it together so that you're getting more engagement. Now, going back to boosting a post, I want to just walk you all through what this process looks like, right? So on every page on your business page, there's going to be an option, boost post, right? So you click on that option, and you're going to get three different objectives you can choose from. You can either, tell Facebook, hey, I want people to go to my website. Hey, I want people to just engage with this post by sharing it, commenting it, reacting to it. Or I want to connect and chat with more potential customers, right? So you can tailor it based on your objective, which is really nice. And then you can, customize the button in this case, it's learn more, which makes sense for what this is asking about. But you can choose a number of different options. It's just going to change what it says. It's still going to link to, the main call to action. In this case, it's this Hispanic marketing tools page. Then because we're in housing, we do have to select this housing option, which is going to limit the targeting that we can do to help us comply with some of these rules and regulations. So normally, if you were not in housing or financial industries, you could target people very specifically, right? You can target by gender, you can target by age, you can target by zip code, but of course, we have to be a little more general, right? So we automatically are told, gender you can't target, age you can't target, but you can target, city. And that makes sense, right? We're a local industry. You want to be able to target people within your community, right? It wouldn't make sense to run an ad if you're in Milwaukee out in California because you're never going to work with those people. So what we did then is this is within, Facebook. It says, hey, it's okay to target people with these interests. And so I found, they're interested in an apartment, they're interested in dog training, they're interested in first-time home buyer, and they're renting, right? So these are people, if you think back to that, for example, I'm targeting people who are currently renting and maybe own a dog and might want to consider buying a home. So when you combine both the targeting and the location, Facebook is going to say, hey, you have a potential audience of this many people. In this case, 260,000 people. Facebook says, hey, that's actually a pretty good amount of size. You don't want it to be too big because then it's too broad. If it's too specific, not enough people are going to see it. And so if it's in the green, you're good to go and you can move on. Now, the number of people that see your post is going to be pretty simple. The more money you spend, the more Facebook is going to promote it. And so you can actually see in real time as you adjust your budget, you'll be able to see how many people Facebook estimates are going to like your post. So you can decide how much money you want to spend, but it's nice to just know, hey, this many people are going to see it per day. And then depending on your length, it's going to give you a summary. So in this case, we spend $250 over 30 days. It's going to be $8.33 a day, and the ad's going to run for 30 days ending on this day. Now, this is where you can, maybe you run an ad during the week of Valentine's Day about, something about, relationships and couples wanting to buy a home. Maybe you run a more broad ad that doesn't talk about anything specific for a month or multiple months. You can kind of decide for you, but this is where you can get creative if you want to try and run more targeted ads. And then lastly, I do want to note, you can get really into the weeds and particular about how Facebook places the ads, if it's going to be included on Instagram or just mobile or what have you. If you're just getting started, and really for most people, I even do this, just go ahead and click on for automatic placements. Facebook's going to run their algorithms and do the best that they can do to, excuse me, make sure it's placed most effectively to be seen. All right. So I know that was a lot of information. Hopefully you found it valuable. I think if you can just take a few of these tips, a few of this knowledge, and implement it into your social media strategy, I think you are definitely going to see some positive results. Just remember, going back to that early example, don't just use your business page to promote yourself over and over and over again. You want to build a community, build your brand, engage with people, both referral partners, potential customers, to create some positive relationships and a positive association. So tag people, share photos of closings, support those referral partners. Make sure that you have Facebook Messenger turned on so that you can communicate with people and engage with the path of least resistance. Open yourself up and even ask people to recommend you, ask people to review you. If you get that positive email, you get a positive phone call with someone thanking you, right then and there, say, hey, I'm really glad it was a positive experience. I'd love it if you would share this to my Facebook business page. Don't forget to use your Down Payment Connect page. Again, that's great content where people are doing their research. They're going to want to put in those numbers for themselves. It's going to be a great referral opportunity for you. Don't forget to check out some of those resources on the Down Payment Resource page to help with that. And then, if you want to start boosting posts, make sure you just consider what that first impression looks like. And if you have the time, go ahead and play around with ads and make the most use of that. If you have any questions, feel free to send me a message. I'd be happy to help you out. You can also email me at my MGIC email at zach_stoiber@mgic.com. And if you made it this whole time, I very much appreciate it. Hopefully you can fast forward and rewind to parts that were most important to you. But I hope you enjoyed the presentation and have a wonderful rest of the day. Thanks so much. Bye.